We're in the third part, so please go gauge what in the world is going on there. In the second part, weekend, so I can afford to speak as much as I want, so I guess we get to have a third part. Yeah, I was talking about in the last part that I was in, that I don't want to be getting gossiped in corridors that a name of a woman my age should not even be perused. But a guy has made my name famous amidst Gen Zs. He's gone on right ahead and made out of me a 40-year-old girlfriend and a 23. And so now I'm being gossiped by 19-year-olds. High schools are talking about me. Oh my goodness. Do you remember, like, proper matriculants that used to know Jabu when they were in grade 8 and he was in matric and he was the head boy? Do you remember our head boy from grade 8? He's dating some 40-year-old woman. I love a totalana. I know I'm a considerance. What do they even talk about? Angifuni mina ukuhlebwa ngabantu abalingana na my little sister who's 22. I don't want to be getting gossiped in high schools and universities. I am not doing it. At internships, in corporates, ke busy ke say what 23, 24-year-olds as those 40-year-olds dating their colleague. No. I'm sorry, guys. I will not be the fantasy of some younger guy. And I know this is offending a lot of older women. But why are they being offended when this is Ivar hate? It's the truth. Because they know what they've had to experience. They know who they've had to hang out with. They know the disquiet, the how uncomfortable it is to bump into friends or former, acquaintances of their man at the mall, just out there in the wilderness, at the Pick and Pay. And then this guy bumps into a friend from high school and she looks so young that she could be 16. And you are freaking out scared that this guy's gonna say, "This is my girlfriend, Karabo." Because this girl's gonna be like, "Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Lerato." While you can tell that she is judging the living daylights out of the ecosystem because you're obviously too old for this 23-year-old guy. And then she's gonna go back and gossip you. Go varsity. Batho. Go Wits University, go Matrix. In 2003. Yeah, that's where it ended. 2003, 4, 5 maybe. Yeah, after that, don't nobody knows a tumbleweed. Because I was no longer hanging out with Matrix, Libana. Maybe later on when I went to study part-time, I missed part-time students, COVIDs. Yeah, but today, ain't nobody gossiping me in that higher learning institution because I haven't been there in a minute. I'm not trying to re-invoke, past eras of people's ways where they're gonna go cleberize me. And mina in high school when I matriculated in 2002. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's literally not gonna happen out here in these streets. If you're trying to do it, hey girl, do you. You know what I'm saying? Do you. But for me, the biggest issue, never mind being gossiped by little children and being teased by little girls, calling you is gogwane, trying to make themselves feel better for taking their boyfriends, by calling you igiza, ngoto, all up in your in their man's grill. The biggest one for me is the parents. Oh, there's also the chill sessions, hanging out. Yo, I've been in a relationship here 5 years, and I don't know how many times I have awkwardly had to hang out with friends of my ex. Like, I'm bored, I'm a little bit uncomfortable, I don't know them, but I'm not thinking in my mind, these kids. I'm just thinking, do they like me? Do they think I'm fit for him? What does he tell them about me? Why? Because they're guys that are also all older than me. The youngest one is my age. Indeed, when I was dating my ex, the youngest guy that I was hanging out with, that was around us, was another guy that I went to primary school with. And frankly, my first love. But anyway, don't nobody know that. Anyway, whatever. So, I've already told that story a million times before. There's a guy that I knew and I was besotted with him all throughout high school. Primary school, the two of us had lots of chemistry. He never shalad, ended up getting really bitter later on, witchcraft, etc. But he was essentially my first love ever, the first guy I ever really had a big crush on. And the thing that made sure that we can never be together is the fact that one day I got taken to him by my boyfriend, who turned out to be his friend. Yeah. And so the two of us couldn't be together. He was my age exactly. We went to the same primary school in the same grade. So I was older than him by 1 month. Or 2 months. He was a November baby while I was an August baby or something of that nature, or an October baby, something of that nature. Yeah, he was a guy from my primary school, and he was the only one out of the crew of my ex's friends that was my age. My ex was 4 years older than me. Everybody else was his age and a little bit older, and this guy was the only baby in the crew, and he was my age exactly. So every time I was hanging out my ex's boys. However awkward I felt, uncomfortable, like, oh, do they like me? Yeah, the awkwardness was around all the other things that you would generally feel when you're in the company of your man's people. You are just insecure, wondering, do they like me? Don't they? What do they think? What's happening? That's the awkwardness. But when you're an older woman, the awkwardness is the fact that you are so much older. And these people are talking about things in high school when we used to talk about things in high school, we were talking 2000, 2001 too. Maybe 1998, 1997 if they're slightly older. But when somebody's out here talking about class of 2022, class of 2019, whoa, yeah, so it's so recent. It's just so recent. It's literally yesterday. Like what? Class of 2020. Whoa, they're still doing that? I can't. Hey, teachers are younger than you. The teachers, Mr. Van der Merwe is a 30-year-old. You're 40. Mr. Van der Merwe, una 30. Because he was a student teacher at the time when they were in high school. The teachers in their schools are older than you. Some of my teachers are probably dead today, guys, because they were the age of our parents. These teachers, some of them, student teachers were they were maybe like 22, 3 type thing. Yeah. So when these girls are talking about, I saw Mr. Van der Merwe at the mall the other day. He got married. He was talking about how it is that he's planning his wedding. You be thinking Mr. Van der Merwe's getting married at 55, 60. Except no, Mr. Van der Merwe is a 30-year-old young man. Mr. Kutsia is a 32-year-old young man. Mrs. Volmarans is a 29-year-old young woman. And it's the teacher of these people. And they're talking about experiences in high school with a teacher that is your significant junior and more appropriate to date that guy than you. That's what makes a conversation awkward with a man that much younger. You will hang out with these boys, you will hang out with these people groups, and they will talk about things that are so bizarre to you that you can't possibly get them properly. But to banang the class of 2016, one day you go and visit your man at his place and he's walking around just wearing some t-shirt, and at the back of it there is embroidery written class of 2016. What the heck, guys? Class of 2016, metric jersey high. It's written at the back, class of 2015, 16. And you gotta look at that on some. In 2002 I was in matric and I'm sitting making out with a guy, calling him my man, that's wearing a matric jersey as he's cleaning the house. It was in class of 2016. Hade buddy. Class of 2016, sure. My sister's boyfriend can rock up with that jersey. But not my boyfriend. Not my man. Not my man. Nah, matric jersey cleaning on a Saturday. It's wapugile. It's been unraveled a little bit, it's torn on the side over here because it's seen some days. And on top of that, you can barely read class of 2002 because some of it has been, it's yeah, because I've had it for that long. I wish I still had my matric jersey. I don't. I lost it. But if I had it, it would be looking, it was white in color. It'd be kind of cream white now. It would be cream whitish, and the green would be looking somewhat powder blue now. And the embroidery would likely be all off. Just a little bit of stitching, unless I preserved it well in a frame or something I should have done, but hey, I didn't do it. And yeah, maybe even a little bit snug because I was very skinny in matric. I was extremely skinnier even than now. Yeah, manje, if at all my matric jersey leaves a lot to be desired, it could be scorop now. It could probably be like the thing that you wipe your counters pledge with, versus your man's one that's the corners are still so sharp. If it's a shirt, they could poke you, prick you, as with a needle, boo. When you click, or when you handle, the way it's so crisp, it's still new. Ay, guys, I understand that kind of stuff. So there's the fact that the man, when he's having conversation with his boys and his girls, they're all talking about high school in the 2010s. When you were in high school, the latter part of it in the very beginning of the 2000s. You can't relate. The music they listen to, modern music, not all of it is whack, guys, but this whole era of a lack of lyrics, just the repetition of the same random rubbish and usage of words I don't understand. Yeah, there's, and this is now just playing. Like my little sister, every so often when she decides that she's going to help along with cleaning the house on the weekends, she will put her phone on, what do you call this thing? She'll put her phone and project music using the Bluetooth speaker in the house. And yo, guys, goodness gracious, that music. I don't understand that music. And I love music. I dance. So I sometimes even go out of my way to find newer music, but I struggle with modern music because it just doesn't click with me. So the music that they are like running on a loop over and over again, it's just gonna be like, you can tell that you're a guys. It's like fosterization, you know what I mean? It's like you're forcing it. Inability to be able to relate. Fact that their teachers are younger than you. The teachers that they are reminiscing about, 10 years younger than you. In and of themselves, when you are amidst them, you feel like Ngotu. You feel much older. You don't know how to carry yourself. You don't know what to talk about. You are in a space where young people talk about young things. It's not like in corporate where you can easily talk with young people because you're all talking about the job, the work that you all do. You are in an environment that is very typically for young people, where they talk about typically young people things, and so you are going to feel out of place. The sorrow of a woman that is dating an older man, especially a woman, is like that, where it is that you have to deal with that, and then there is chilling amidst. So as a woman, you become very insecure about your beauty from the time you can feel insecure. So primary school, and this insecurity inclines exponentially over the years. And as you get older, because everybody talks so much about aging and how it is that it's just so horrible for a woman to age, etc., you are constantly staring in the mirror, checking off for fine lines, wrinkles, open pores, saggy neck, saggy chest, thinning skin, whatever. You're always just speculating about how you look. Whether or not people see what you see, your flaws yawn ever more bigly the older you get, even if people don't see what you see. So the more your own features start to disquiet you, the more you start to feel like you're noticing a droop of the cheek, the more you start to feel like you're noticing yawning pores, the more you start to pick at your hair to see if you're popping any grays, the more you start to concentrate on the perfection of other people. When I was in my 20s, did not care to investigate with a magnifying glass people's skin texture because I was so young and my own texture was what it was. It was young and I wasn't insecure. I was not able to tell a person's age just by looking at certain contours on their faces, features, because of the likelihood of that having happened to them due to them being past a certain age. Now, because I'm so obsessed with aging, due to the fact that I'm 39, now I look at everybody that I see on YouTube, everybody that I see on Netflix, everyone I see out there today at the store. When I was buying the cold drinks for the event that happened today, I was looking at the very teller that was telling me to flee with her male colleague. I kept looking at her skin for texture. Before she told me that she was basically 40, I was looking at her texture to gauge how old more or less she is. And I came to a conclusion that she was in her 20s, right? Until she dropped the bomb on me telling me that she is 39. Constantly just looking at people's age giveaways. To compare with myself. When I happen upon young people, there is a covetousness in me that is like, oh my goodness, I wish my skin was that flawless, or I wish my skin was that, it didn't have that much I wish my skin texture was like that. I wish my legs looked like that. Even like everything, yeah, etc. So I find myself scanning as with a magnifying glass everybody around to gauge their age because of my own insecurities. The whole world is a mirror for me, and everybody that is still young makes me feel so old. So when you are an older woman who has to use retinol, you can never drop it. You can never miss a day. You can never abandon the tretinoin. You literally, the only thing that would ever put you in a position to not use these anti-aging creams is violent poverty. And so you work for your anti-aging creams. You will covet women who are not quite even starting their anti-aging regimen yet. They're not worried. They're not looking in the mirror, checking for all different kinds of imperfections every single day. They're not staring deeply into a mirror, to a point of getting this close to the mirror just to investigate flaws that you imagine were not there yesterday. Young women don't have that issue. It only starts popping or creeping up on them. I personally, with me, I think it started when I was like 36, 7. That's when I started being like, what's happening? When's I gonna land? When's I gonna land? When's I gonna land? And ever since then, it's just been downhill from there. I am insecure like 24 hours a day about my skin, so I cannot be with a man that is younger than me for those reasons. When you are sitting amidst, especially other younger women, you will keep on looking at their skin and be like, oh, I wish my skin looked like that. You will look at their neck and be like, oh, I wish my neck was like that. You will look at their the pores on their faces and how small they are or barely visible. I wish my pores were like that. You will look at everything, their legs, the cellulite or lack thereof, the hair thickness, the girth of hair on their heads, and the fact that they're so a long way off from ever popping their first gray. You will obsess. So if you are ever encircled like perpetually as an older woman that is misplaced amidst young people, you will also put yourself in a position to envy all the women that you're always hanging around with. It is inevitable that you will keep hanging out with them. Why? Because the boyfriends, the friends of your boyfriend, or the friends of what would be the equivalent of your future husband, are dating young girls. They're still dating younger women. And so you will always with these women, because men will always bring their wives around each other. They will always bring their girlfriends around each other. It's inevitable. In a way that women don't always bring their boyfriends around their girls, but the other way around is inevitable. Men will always bring their women around each other. And so if you date a younger guy, you are putting yourself in a position to perpetually be around women so young that you will feel like a geezer. You will have a distorted body image. You will have body dysmorphic disorder, BDD. That even though you age well, like I guess Karabo, even though you age relatively well and people don't believe you, they're shocked out of their minds when you tell them your true age. Even though you successfully appear 27 at 40, it will be irrelevant. Because you will feel, if you are around actual 27-year-olds, you will feel 40 if you're around 22-year-olds as a 40-year-old. Whether or not you look 27, like you will feel it. At MTN, I had this beautiful colleague, married woman, that I thought was like my age. At the time I was like 26. I found out that she was more like 10 years older than me. She looked really young. And one time, we were having a casual, non-work related conversation, and I spoke about how it is that she and I are more or less the same age, so we should probably try this out. I think it was a plan for the gym or something that we were talking about each, right? And she laughed at me when I was like, you and I are more or less the same age, so we should try this plan. According to this diet plan, it's best for people in their late 20s entering into their early 30s. And she laughed at me, and I was like, why are you laughing at me? She's like, Karabo, I am not your age. She did not tell me what her age was, but based on what we were talking about, I came to conclude that she was a good 10 years, if not more than that, older than me. She looked really good. This woman had a self-awareness and insecurity around me, even though not to me, she was so beautiful that I was insecure around her. But she was insecure around me, not because of my beauty, but because of how much younger I was. So whether or not we looked the exact same was irrelevant. Bottom line is the mental veil was in her eyes. It was in her mind. She's the one that had the mental block that I am, at the end of the day, a 37-year-old woman while you're 27. So I feel like I'm old in comparison to you. So it does not matter that you look young. All that matters is how you will feel inside. And how you feel inside is how you're going to manifest your reaction. You are going to act, or you are going to gesture your body around in a way that evidences your insecurity. So you're always going to be hiding yourself. Another thing that I'm insecure about as I get older are my hands. Because everybody talking about how hands get at their age. And I'm always washing dishes like no man's business. So I'm always looking at my hands. When I'm watching a video on YouTube, when I am doing everything, I'm always like, guys, to a point of sometimes even hiding my hands. Whether or not my hands have started to age is irrelevant. Bottom line is, I know my age, and so I feel like my hands are aging. Whether or not the evidence is there. It's called body dysmorphic disorder. Anorexics have it. They think they're fat when they look in the mirror, but they're actually emaciated. It is BDD, body dysmorphic disorder, or a distorted body image. You will have a distorted body image in front younger women, even if you look exactly like them, because your mama done given you those beautiful genes. And in and of yourself, you're always in the gym, and like I said, you are violent in your cosmetics closet with all manner and kinds of anti-aging intervention, and so you look really good, but you will always feel old. Plus, your peers will make you feel irresponsible, and those kids that you're hanging out around, you will also make you feel like ingut. It's inevitable. The only time you will ever be at ease with this younger man is when it's just the two of you, because he will make you feel really good about yourself. He will tell you, I don't care about your age. Age ain't nothing but a number, and a number ain't nothing but a thing. There's something that I had for you. It'll never change. But this man will make you feel good, and you will be happy with him alone. But out there, whether or not he is actively going out of his way to make you feel like is irrelevant. He could be a star. He could be an angel. But your own insecurities are gonna eat at you alive. And if the relationship does not work out, you will always think it's because of your age. Even if it wasn't, you will always feel insecure. It puts the person in question that is the star, the fantasy to be fulfilled in a position. It puts them in a position to suffer a lot of heartbreak later on, a lot of insecurity later on. It'll never leave you. Plus, I can't say this enough, women age faster than men. So not only are you going to be looking at the women in this man's friendship circle, be uncomfortable at malls when you bump into people, you will also look at your man. You will look at him with all of his youthful splendor, scan him up and down, all that glory. I work out personally, and I had a dream about a gym buff, a man that is always in the gym, that the Lord showed me is currently looking at me, and he wants to holla at me. He wants to contact me. He is attracted to me in the worst way, and largely because of my boombox. In other words, if you've seen Step Up, the one with Moose in it back in the day, there was a saying that he came up with, called BFAB, born from a boombox. Yeah, basically people who can dance and Jafela very originally from birth. They don't have to be trained, anything of that nature. When I found that word out from Moose on Step Up, is it revolution or what? I was like, I'm a BFAB, like proper. I've never been for dance training in my life, but I can kill it. I can kick it. I'm a BFAB. And that guy, the word that the Lord raised up to me was the fact that he's attracted to me because of your BFAB status. In other words, he's more drawn to my ability to dance, my skills as a dancer, than he is actually even drawn to Christianity. But everything else of mine, he is liking. So this is a man that was basically lured into the environment through something that made him interrogate everything else about a woman, and then liked the whole package, the whole thing, ended up feeling like, so this is how God makes them. This is how God makes Christian women. They don't all come like these boring that they're coming out randoms with bashing Bibles and stuff. It's actually a whole comprehensive, wonderful woman. Essentially a man that is happening upon Eve after being made out of Adam's rib, and is like, this at last is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. A man that feels like he has found the pod, the second pea in a pod to him. He feels like we are similar. It's just that he is struggling with religion. But if at all that's what godliness looks like, I'll take it. I've got a man of a Generation Z constitution looking at me. In my dream, he looked like he could have been like 25, 24, like 24, 5, 6, and he was in the gym, and he was looking really good, like handsome, like steroidally handsome, and he was looking at me, and he imagined that him and I look the same, and so it is irrelevant that I am 39 and he is only 25 or 24. Yeah, well, and the thing that again drew him to me is the fact that I dance, and I dance clean, and he in and of himself is into fitness. I don't know if he was a dancer too, but he was definitely into fitness, and he imagined that him and I would make for a great pairing. But oh my goodness, she's 39. What? I don't think I ever leave an opportunity every single time I talk here to mention my age, because it's important that it be understood that I'm what age I am, so as to not draw to myself pursuit by men who will want me unaware of my age and then get a shock of their life to discover that I'm a whole near on 40 lady. It is important for me to keep highlighting my age, that I might draw the right, not so much audience, anybody can listen to me, I'm a Christian, but when it comes to men who would want to pursue me, they gotta know my age and make an informed decision based on that, and they also cannot be younger than me. Not too much younger. Not even at all. I'm gonna get to the point that I'm trying to make here, and hopefully this is my last part, because I'm tired of talking and I'm hungry. This guy in my dream was drawn to me, and the thing that drew him to me was my BFAB status, following which he then fell into he ended up adoring my Christianity and recognizing that there is value in godliness. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that this guy's walking in, but he's got a bad idea in his mind. And I'm trying to tell people right now, especially men, young men, Gen Zs, you have not ruined your lives yet. You have not done like these Xennials and these millennials that went and married the wrong women, ignored God when they were just 25. I spoke about that yesterday, about guys that I was on the come up with. My peers, the Lord called all of us at the same time. He called all of us at the same time, more or less, all of us, right? There was this guy that I was actively flirting with. I was looking at him, he was looking at me. It was a whole game that we were playing. That was like a whole mating call was being done between the two of us. He was perfect, age appropriate, and everything. As was I perfect for him. And the two of us had some mad strong feelings for each other. And this guy made a decision, because I lost everything, to just pass me up. He decided not to finish what he started with me. And he went on and married another woman and shattered the living daylights out of my heart. And that was influenced by nothing but the fact that I lost a job. So it evidenced that he was not born again, truly, because he would never have made a shallow decision unto that end. That guy, he was being called by God at the same time that I was being called. The Lord called me to enter the kingdom of heaven, and the Lord called him at the same time. We started working with each other at MTN in the same year, 2009. I worked there first, and then he shortly afterwards joined the company. I started in August, and I think he started maybe around November, December of the same year. And from the very beginning of our tenure in the company, so at the time, I was, when I started working at MTN, I was 25. He was, I don't know what age he was, but slightly older than me. And I was, in a relationship. And I would imagine so was he, type thing. But we had chemistry. And for years, we were ogling at each other. And at the latter end of my tenure at MTN, just before I lost everything and I got persecuted out of the organization, we were now starting to finally see if we can do something about it. In other words, I had gotten out of the relationship that I was in. 5 years, it had ended, right? And it had been a few years since then. I was now a Christian. He was likely also kind of single, like out of relationships that maybe when we first started at MTN we were both tied up to other people, but now he was single too. It's like everything happened in lockstep with both of us. We started at the same time, we're both with other people at the same time, we're both single at the same time, and also both got called by God at the same time. I got saved, and I know that we were both called by God at the same time because we started to do similar activity together. So many signs were all over the show. In other words, go Reima, that's where I used to go to church initially before I moved around, musical chairsing, because the country was... South Africa is seeker sensitive, it's lukewarm, so I got to learn, what's being taught at the pulpit. You must take it with a grain of salt, be Berean, validate scriptures, etc. So this guy got born again. He got called in the exact same ecosystem as me, same country, same sort of socio-economic conditions, same demographic sculpture existence. We had the sameness of lots of stuff, meaning that the same way that God snatched me out from false doctrine and quickly graduated me to start eating spiritual meat from milk, He would have done the same thing for him. We were supposed to grow together. That's what I'm trying to explain. Because we got called at the exact same time. And we started to do the exact same activity at the exact same time. In other words, I started to be curious about church. And so did he. So every so often I started to spot him. And he was so interested in church that I would go to evening services at Rhema too, because I was so thirsty and hungry for God's word. And so would I also then spot him at evening services. And every time I would see him, he would be staring at me. Like, this guy used to always just stare at me. So there came a time when he finally decided that he's going to talk to me. And how it is that what made him make that decision was that he started to spot me. This one colleague, remember that beautiful girl that I told you about earlier? She was a professing Christian, also happened to hurt me, etc., whatever. You know, people with all their witchcraft, whatever. But this woman introduced to me a church at work. There was a church downstairs, go MTN, where people could go on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, at lunchtime. And I found out through this colleague that there was such a church. Because one time at a meeting, she was like, can you please schedule this meeting that we're going to have rather at 1:30, because at 12 I want to go to church. I was like, church? Where do you go to church? I thought she was driving out of the building. And she was like, downstairs. I was like, really? There's a church at work? Where? And she gave me the directions. So I made a decision that I was going to go, because I was also interested in the things of God. I started to go to the church at work downstairs. And when I went to that church downstairs in the basement, go car park, go MTN, I would see this guy there, and that's when I was like, oh, he's Christian as well. Whoa. So like, remember, I had a crush on this guy. I let the crush go because he was wasting time passing me shade. Every so often he was like smiling or staring, and then other days he was acting like I'm not even in the room. So I decided to let it go until I found him at the church at work. And then I was like, whoa, the guy that I've always crushed on, that appears to have crushed on me back, is here. So maybe he's a Christian. Okay, wow. So I kept seeing him then in the church at work as well. And every time I was there, finding him there, he would always, like, the guy used to stare at me. Like, he used to just like look, he used to look at me like a lot. And he made me not uncomfortable. When a guy is staring at you and you like him back, you are happy out there in these streets. He was always staring, right? Anyway, whatever. One time at that very church at work, he made it like at the end of the service, or whatever you want to call it, we would gather together, hold hands, and do the, may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. That whole prayer, we would say it holding hands. And he insisted, like, he literally shoved everybody else out the way to stand next to me. And he clutched my hand so tight, like almost inappropriately, and kept on like, what is this? Embracing, like caressing my hand throughout that prayer, that it made me uncomfortable, but happily so, because I was out of my mind, like besotted with this guy. That was that one day, and that was even before we started talking with each other, like as in like normal human beings, instead of flirting or etc. And one day when I was headed to the church at work and he was behind me, he decided to run like Squire for hire, and catch up with me so he could introduce himself to me and officially know me. So this guy was starting to step up to the plate. That's what I'm getting at. So let's say his name was Tepo, right? He was like, hi, I'm Tepo. And I'm like, I'm Karabo. I've always known he was Tepo. And he has always known I'm Karabo. But now it was official. We were introducing each other because we had always liked each other. And so we knew about each other. We found each other's names on the active directory, etc., etc. You get my point. Yeah, whatever. So from the date that this guy introduced himself to me, and we now were officially acquainted with each other to a point where now it is unacceptable for you to walk past me in jail without greeting or whatever, we then started talking, greeting each other. And if he would find me in the coffee shop sitting waiting for my coffee, he would then sit with me and we'd chat. So we started to talk. He had started to pursue me. Like one time during Christmas, like, that skeleton stuff season in the office when it's kind of empty. Yeah, I was coming down the stairs and he was going up the stairs, going to where it is that he works. And I was going to the coffee shop. He waited for me down there. I remember praying in my mind, Onzam, I better not fall. Like, he waited for me to get downstairs. And when I got there, he was like, I just wanted to give you a hug before Christmas, since we're going to, tomorrow it's gonna be Christmas. It was like the day before, it was Christmas Eve, and we were both in the office, and he was like, I just wanted to give you a hug before Christmas to say Merry Christmas. And we hugged for something like 5 whole seconds, like right there in the office. It was clear a lot was going on between us. This man was gonna finish what he started with me. That was 2013. 2014 would be the year when I would lose everything. So basically God gave him everything he needed to make a godly decision where I was concerned. God was calling both of us. As fervently and as quickly as I grew in Christ, he was also going to grow. Because God called us at the same time. We were both going to get snatched out from fluffy churches like Rhema and move to where it is that was a lot more solid. And the two of us were going to grow from grace, like strength to strength. We were going to be baby Christians at the same time and grow together. But he started out in the fluffy space and stayed fluffy. And he chose darkness instead of light. He decided that he's going to keep on dabbling with darkness instead of embracing Jesus altogether. I don't know what his relationship looks like today with Christianity, but he is certainly a reprobate. Do you understand? And this man remember this is 2013 when we had the hug at the office, end of that year. 2014, God gave him all of June, all of Jan to June. Do what you need to do. We still kept talking, we still kept seeing each other, we still kept having conversations in the coffee shop, but without officially exchanging numbers and talking like, whoa, this guy, what? And like, it breaks my heart just thinking about it. Stuff started to fall apart for me. And instead of being like, whoa, God, what's going on? Like, where are you? When I disappeared from the organization, because he didn't work for the same department, so he would never have known if I left, but he would have definitely have picked up that I'm not around anymore. Instead of him contacting me and being like, oh, P, I'm sorry, I wasted time, but whoa, where you at? Like, what's good? Watched everything. He definitely investigated what happened with me because he liked me. And when he found out what happened with me, he was like, whatever. Instead of running to find me, he let me go. I tried to get him to come and get me through my ministry because I knew he was following me on my social media, etc. My blog, he was reading it. I told you, when you like someone, you cyber stalk them. He knew my blog. He knew where I was writing. He could have just contacted me, and I tried to talk to him with freaking Morse code, if you want to call it that. And he decided rather to go and marry another woman because he didn't want to be associated with a woman that the whole world is spitting on. He didn't want to be associated with a woman that the whole world is rejecting, is abusing. A woman that he's loved literally for years. He just was like, there's more where they came from. There's plenty of fish in the ocean. Like, he was given so much, but he passed it up. He was given so much, and on the same year that I lost everything was the exact same year that he met the woman that would be his wife. And he imagined she is more appropriate. So you have met this woman that you have a lot in common with. You work in the same company. You're both called to God at the same time. You start going to church. And then you meet like some woman, Mafigizolo, yesterday. And you propose marriage to her within a few months. And then within a few months after that proposal, you have now married her. And she was like, Mafigizolo, you do not have time to establish all of these passions in your heart over years, dancing around each other, dilly-dallying. And the one that you wanted, the only reason why you did not go for her was because she lost a job. He went and married a woman that was recommended to him. She came highly recommended. What in the world? He married a woman that came highly recommended to him by the church because she was always esontweni. She was always in church. And from what the Lord showed me, she was a bird of a feather with him, in the sense that boy too, they were involved in Christianity with darkness at the same time. So much so did this woman lie to him about her true walk with God, that she told him she was a virgin, and he discovered that that was not true on their wedding night. I made a joke about that briefly yesterday, but these are things that God showed me, and he was severely disappointed by how she lied and also what she did to turn him on, if you want to call it that, on the wedding night. She made like a stripper. She wore these fishnet stockings and like some hard knock stripper shoes on her wedding night, honeymoon night, on some, this is me and this is our first night together. So this is a man that was a fornicator, thinking that he's marrying a Christian woman, and he waited for her for sex after marriage, just as he was supposed to wait for me. And then on the wedding night, he discovers that the virgin bride is not a virgin. And if anything, she's got so much experience that she went out of her way to go to an adult shop and purchase paraphernalia to tease him on the wedding night as a surprise. And he was turned off by it because it lacked virtue. It lacked piety. He wanted more, just a stripper, because he had been with, prior to his apparent conversion to Christianity. And when then he basically had a woman turn into a freak in the bedroom that he thought was a whole saint, he was disappointed because he was like, but this is not what I signed up for. And that's when he started torturing the living daylights out of me, because he realized he made a mistake by not sticking with his gut feel, his intuition, what he felt was the right decision to make. The decision that he made based on nothing but socioeconomic standing, fleshy carnal reasons, passing up a woman that was the right one for another one. That thing made him become so obsessive and abusive of me using witchcraft. And he nearly killed me, that guy. He was so invested in sorcery against me that he could not rest in his own life without obsessing over me. I had to disappear from social media for him to finally leave me alone. There was a birthday that he had maybe 1 year after he got married. That was a surprise birthday party, from what the Lord showed me, that was thrown for him by this wife of his at his coming of age. And in that dream, God showed me he was like phased out, almost like everything was blurry, because he knew he was in the wrong place, because he was terribly in love with somebody else, and he was living a life that he did not sign up for. He was living a life with someone that he did not love, that came highly recommended to him by a church that was lukewarm, could not even gauge the fruit of this woman for what it was. She wasn't truly saved. She was serving in the church and very busy, and she came highly recommended. You know, singles ministry, basically. That's how he was hooked up. A singles ministry in a fluffy church like Rhema, where it is that they're trying to put singles together. And he went to such a ministry, and one woman came highly recommended to him by the people around, and he just took it. He went on right ahead to agree to go and like take her out on a date and all that jazz, and then was like, okay, I'll propose marriage to her because the church says so. He allowed himself to get duped. And also this woman, from what the Lord showed me, I know it's a lot of information, she was involved in darkness, and she liked him as well. He was a typical alpha male. He was very handsome, and when she saw him, she was like, I want him. And she solidified his decision for her with witchcraft on him and on me. In other words, she did a spell to say that whoever it is that is the holder of his heart, let her be buried. She did a ritual from what God showed me where she took my paraphernalia, not my paraphernalia because she didn't know me, I wasn't in her life, but she was made to purchase things that belong to a woman, like a lipstick, a mirror, earrings, clothing. And she was told to go and dig a hole by a well and bury these clothes, and that will evidence the woman that holds this guy's heart truly. So he will never see her. So lo and behold, indeed, after that ritual was done, he was blinded from the veracity of me as who it is that I was to him. So he went on right ahead and married a whole witch that held him hostage with sorcery, blocked him from seeing me, and after getting married to her, realizing he made a mistake, and then obsessing and dedicating a whole bunch of himself to bewitching me because he was not listening to Jesus. The Lord called us both at the exact same time. And the Lord was convicting both of us of sin. But remember, the scriptures say many are called, but few are chosen. This guy got called, but he wasn't chosen. Chose darkness. He chose to let God tested him with me. He tested him. And he was like, if you will love Karabo thick and thin, basically, if you will love my daughter, despite everything that's falling apart in her life, I will give her to you as a wife. Because I will ultimately restore all of your fortunes, her fortunes, to take care of her. And you as a man, I will take care of. And he threw me away. He threw me away. But discovered shortly after marrying that other woman that he made a mistake and then made an obsession out of me to a point of abuse. And the only thing survived me out of the abuse of that guy was me disappearing from the internet for years. So he couldn't find me, he couldn't spot me. So he finally, I stopped getting afflicted by sorcery from him. That's why I like to compare this guy from the US to him, because the guy from the US is also obsessive over me to a point of blocking anything and anyone from ever seeing me again, even trying to kill me, due to the fact that I slipped out of his hands and I didn't end up in his life. But with the guy in America, I can't stop social media. So if I walked away from my ministry after some time afflicting me with witchcraft, because I would disappear, there would be no line of sight for him to afflict me. But I can't stop, because if I stop, I die. So I'm carrying on with this guy, but him and that other dude are similar in that they are so obsessed that they will never ever leave me alone. But this time around, instead of my adrenaline response to their attacks is, instead of like back in the day it was flight, now it's fight. Now I'm fighting to conquer this man from America, because I cannot for the life of me keep on running away from men, have messed up with me, and now they're acting a fool. What I'm trying to explain with this whole chat session at present, what is this? At the same time we were all called. At the same time we were all called. That guy from MTN was by far, out of all the guys that I could have ended up with, the most promising and compelling case, because it was becoming clear, evident, spiritually and otherwise, that we were tapering towards each other. Like the dating pool, or whatever you want to call it, the prospects pool was thinning. It was narrowing us towards each other. We were looking at each other. It was just so thick in the room, our being drawn together, that everything else faded in the background. So it was one of those, been around, seen it all, but this was the one. Like, yeah, thick and clear in the room. And the clarity of it was etched ever more so into stone by the fact that at the very same time we both got called to God. We were gonna get born again together, discipled together, grow in grace together, and end up doing wonderful things for the Lord, working with one another alongside. But he chose darkness and I went into the marvelous light. And now today he's a man full of regret. He is full of regret, but whatever, it is what it is. Alright? It happened. So what I'm trying to explain to younger guys, these Gen Zs, is that just like with that guy, just like with my almost dude that went and married another woman and shattered my heart, made me sing, all I could do was cry for a season, so too are you, highly likely, as a Gen Z guy, all of a sudden disinterested anymore in just random whatever's going on in the world. Now you want to look into God. You're investigating the Bible. You are going to church. You are perusing stuff. You're going to church downstairs at your workplace where you work. You're busy attending sermons when that was not what you were doing. Me and this guy, we started out at M10 and we were both irreligious, both unchurched, both worldly. And I didn't even know that there was a church downstairs. And in the second last year of my tenure at MTN in 2013, all of a sudden I was downstairs fellowshipping with other Christians in the office. Something that was not the case at the beginning of my career. So a lot of y'all are also being put in the same ecosystems, and do not underestimate where God puts you, in that it's not always in a singles ministry. This guy met his wife in a singles ministry at church. Whereas the woman that basically would have made sense for him if he had given his life to God was in the office. She was born again, and God gave him enough to understand that, yes, go. Because like I said, I kept seeing him at church. I kept seeing him at church as an out there in the wilderness, and also the one at work. He introduced himself to me officially in the second last year, after like almost 4 years of walking around me and like staring but not doing anything. He finally decided to introduce himself to me while we were busy walking around each other in the office. So there are women that God is calling to himself that are exactly like me, Gen Z men. There are, at the time I was 25. I got born again at 26. So I was 26, yeah. There are women who are your age that are like me. You just are likely currently maybe sort of ignoring them. What is this? The Lord calls usually because he is an orchestrator. He is a providential planner. He will orchestrate a conversion to him, likely more or less at like the same time sometimes, in order to bring them together, that have always been in each other's space. So there is a perfectly viable Gen Z woman for this guy that's staring at me, looking at my ministry, trying to tap on my shoulder and embarrass the living daylights out of me by being a whole 10 years younger than me. A whole, never mind 10 years, guys, like 14 years younger. Could be my son, for crying out loud. No, like absolutely not. Entirely unacceptable. Like, yeah, it's possible for a 14-year-old to have a child. Like, I can't. Like, I literally cannot. What I'm trying to explain is that there are women your age that are as fervent for God as me, that have got all the suite of gifting that I have, that are what you imagine to be this rare find, this gem that you found in the sand, that has been abandoned and neglected. And you're like, I'll take it. I'll marry you. I have got the credentials that you want. All the stats that you're praying about, I got them. I've never been married. I don't have any children. I'm single at present. And I will love your God. I will love your God. First and foremost, I am too seasoned to be with a guy that's just starting out with God now. That's the problem. Women are supposed to be trained by men in godliness and not the other way around. So when a man is less mature than a woman, it is a powder keg of disaster. That's the first issue. Second issue, chronological age. Whether or not people want to believe it matters, especially for a woman, because of all the myriads of things that I have explained right now. And thirdly, there are definitely Gen Z women like me, even though it is very hard to convince a young woman that is still like 23 or whatever to basically recognize that the passions of youth are destructive, and the way around them is in and of themselves men, Gen Z men. You gotta change your mind about what you want in a woman, because women are so desperate for the love of men. That is just biblical. It's the curse. We want men to love us whether or not we want to believe we are independent and don't need love. Look at what Beyonce did with Jay-Z. Lemonade, that album, Yakache. Instead of leaving, walking out, indeed, I left a note in the hallway. By the time you see it, I'll be far away, oh far away. But I ain't messing with nobody. And she's still with the guy. Saying that suicide before you see tears run down my eyes. Yeah, she's out here dissing Jay-Z, and then next thing she's like, hold up, they don't love you like I love you. Namby-pamby, like, what do you call this thing? Suckers for men's love, to a point where that resolve of theirs to get out will be watered down by a man's promise to love her. It's just the way that we are. So if you want these Gen Z women to be like me, first of all, I realize that there are others that are like me. You just gotta find them. And even among those that are wild animals, debauched in these streets, telling themselves that YOLO only live once, you can change them. You can change them, because if a woman has a crush on you, if a woman wants your love, just like I did with that Dwele CD that I bought and I memorized every song on the album just to please some dude that liked Dwele, yeah, this woman will peruse Christianity just because you are Christian. And I know that it worked with me, because there was a guy prior to this, this guy started working for MTN after this other dude, but this other dude did a solid on me in the sense that he was a Christian when I was just fluffily investigating the things of God. And when I found, when he started working for the company, I developed shortly afterwards a crush on him, and I liked him a lot, and I found out that he was a Christian. And because I found out that he was a Christian, He was just a professing Christian because he turned out to be dark. I've already explained this about this guy. I've told these stories a million times before, but anyway, I'm trying to get to a point right now. Before I knew that he was all darkened, his Christianity inspired me to get more serious with my Christianity. I was investigating the things of God. I was curious. I was convicted of sin, but I was still trying to live a worldly lifestyle, partying and all that jazz. And it was crushing on a Christian man that I imagined was on the very straight and narrow, and imagining as well that I needed to be a wife that is fit and proper for a man like that. That made me research biblical womanhood until I found enough of Paul Washer's sermons to be sanctified entirely and be solidly surrendered to God. Once I was finally really very strong in Christ, I then observed that this guy was actually kind of lukewarm. So I let him go. But it was because of my crush on him that I became curious, more curious about Christian womanhood. And I got saved. No, I didn't get saved because of that. I got sanctified because of that. So what I'm trying to say is, if a woman has a crush on you, if she likes you, even if she is currently a slay queen, if at all your ways are more virtuous than that of a man that would embrace a slay queen in his stride, she will try to be a virtuous woman just so you would consider her a viable option for a wife, even if she's not in your life yet. I did not ever date that other guy. I was just spazzing over him and walking around him, drawing circles on the floor, obviously flustered when he is in the room, and he knew it. But that was enough to get me cultivated in biblical womanhood so I could be fit and proper for a man like that. These women can get cleansed, do you understand? By simply making an observation of your piety, and upon making an observation of your piety, will then go to the drawing board to ask, what can I do to be perfect for him? Because women long for the love of men. And if she likes you, if she's already crushing on you, just your godliness alone can make her as fervent a Christian as I ultimately became because of a man. So pray for these women. That's what I'm saying. If you want a woman like me, allow me to be a role model and put it on a wall as a plaque, but do not try to marry it. Don't say there is no woman in my generation that is like you, Karabo. That is absolutely untrue. I've been like this for how long, God? I've been born again 12 years, and out of those 12 years, about 11 of them, I've been this solid. It's just that I'm persecuted now, and I've grown in wisdom, but my solidness in Christ and my convictions were like this just 1 year into the faith. Meaning that it is possible to find a Gen Z that's just like me, just without all the persecution, just without all the sorrow in their hearts. It's possible. And you as men have got power to graduate her from fluffy, flaccid, lukewarm, and even like crawling down a stripper pole to karabo, to exactly what I am, to super consecrated and a kazaren while she's at it, absolutely besotted with Jesus. You have got power to convert women in a way that women struggle to convert men to Christ. That's what I'm getting at. So change these women to be your wives and use a mock-up, an example of a woman that's 39 to, I guess, inspire or influence your prayers as to what you're seeking in a wife. And trust that you're handsome enough and kazaring enough to have some woman crushing heavily on you. Make a decision to investigate your God just so she can end up your wife. Women will change their whole religion and do a whole haul on everything they're doing just so a man can love them. It's the curse, but it's also a blessing in disguise. In seeking out your love, she will thoroughly go and investigate your God. Build your own millennial bride instead of trying to take, not millennial, Gen Z bride. Build your own Gen Z bride instead of trying to take an exennial or a millennial bride as a Gen Z. Because on the day that you take a millennial bride as a Gen Z groom, you are putting the millennial bride in a position to be humiliated. You're putting her in a position to be insecure. You're putting her in a position to feel small. And again, the worst thing is the parents, your mothers, especially your moms, are going to hate a woman that is 10 to 15 years older than you. I would never be happy with a woman that's 40 while my son is 28. While my son is 26, I'd be like, couldn't you find a woman your age? I would never like her. I might love the grandchildren that come from that, if at all she can pop babies out of that geriatric womb, but I would have such beef with her. If I was a mother, and I'm telling you, like as it is, if I was a mother of a 26, 25, 24-year-old guy, and he brought home some 37-year-old woman, I'd be so mad. I would be upset. I would pray. I'm godly, so I don't pull the tactics or the stunts of worldly women. So I would not necessarily try and cause a divorce, and I also would not try and sabotage this woman or do some underhanded shoddy tactics to make him get out, but I would definitely fast over it, dedicating all night prayer in tongues and everything to God. On some, get my son out of that whirlwind of chaos. Get my son out of that woman's clutch. She is a cradle snatcher. I would always see her as ingoto engichontela indodaga indodana. I would always see him as this thing that's robbing, see her as this woman that is robbing me of a beautiful little cute bride that I am going to train and groom. That would be my son. I would be so upset if my son brought home and a woman that much older. I would not be afflicted. 28-year-old son brought home a 32-year-old bride. But I would definitely have issues if my 28-year-old son brought home a 39-year-old bride. I wouldn't be upset if the age gap is negligible, like 5 years and under, maybe even 4 years and under. But more than that, I would have beef, and you know that that's what happens in these streets. So because I don't can you want a mother-in-law that hates me, that I am not even that far from age in comparison to, a mother-in-law that can't stand me as well because I am old enough to be the mother of her youngest child? I don't want that. I've always wanted peace with my in-laws. It's one of the biggest reasons why I struggled with dating white men when I was growing up. There was so much racism around where I was on the come up that even when I would have crushes, I've had like a crush on 3 white guys in total in my life. The prospect having their friends pass me shade because I'm black, and the family passing me shade because I'm black, was just, it was so heavying that I never ever allowed a white man to pursue me all the way to the end. There was one actually at MTN that I really liked, and he was obviously interested in me back. One colleague tried to hook us up because his heart cry was, get Garabo to look at me. But for me, I was thinking he used to hang out with a lot of men that I imagined were a little bit indifferent towards black people, maybe not so much racist, just indifferent, like men in the office that I kind of imagined very indifferent towards black colleagues, and he would hang out a lot with them. And I was like, if I date you, I'm gonna have to go on lunches and dinners with those guys that are indifferent towards black people and be ignored all throughout dinner, even though I have something to say. So I basically ran from him. I fled because of a fear of racist persecution due to being with a white guy. That has, I think, changed in me because of the fact that times have sort of kind of progressed and improved, and I have made observations of enough interracial couples on the internet to imagine that it's possible to be with a white man and not be persecuted by his family or his friends. But back then I was like really very scared of dating white guys for those reasons. So for the same reasons, I also never ever wanted to be with a guy whose family or friends would hate me, because I did not want persecution in a relationship with a man where I'm only happy when it's just the two of us. But the moment I go out there in the wild and walk these streets with him, everybody is snubbing me, shunning me, looking at me like this irresponsible thing, or looking at him like whatever. I've always wanted acceptance by my in-laws and my man's friends. It's always been very important to me, like very important. And for me, being with a younger guy just throws all that out the window. It throws it out of the window entirely, because it puts me in a position to be despised by his parents, and also to be despised by some of his friends, and to be laughed at by his peer females, and to be jeered and mocked at by women his age. And I've also always been quite the role model everywhere I've gone. I've been able to raise a standard above my peers to a point where I was worthy to look up to, and I wanted to keep that going. I wanted to be a role model even in marriage. I wanted younger women to look up to the marriage I entered into, the man who pursued me. I wanted them to look at my life as worthwhile, to emulate. And so when I came to Christ, I became essentially the perfect example. But I've always liked being that role model. I've always liked having younger girls look at me like, older sis Karava, she's so cool. I've always liked that. I always thrived on that. I got off on that. So for me to then put myself in a position to be frowned upon by young women, I can't. I've always loved their admiration. I've always loved it. I've always had it, and I've always loved it. I've always been revered by younger women, and I don't want to lose that. And if I go and I marry a dude that is 10 years younger, I'm now going to be in competition with them. And they are going to now look at me as this gogwane that's lost the plot, that's got a midlife crisis from here to Timbuktu. And frankly, she doesn't know whether she's coming or going. I don't want to compete with women that look up to me. I just don't. Like, let's leave my competitors, my peers. Let's leave the millennials and the exennials in this cockpit where we're all fighting. But don't put a Gen Z in my cockpit. Don't. Because frankly, I prefer them as my admirers. It's that basic. Like, it's just been that way with me for all of my life. I'm not about to go and grab my little girls and make them my enemies. I'm not doing it. So that's why I can't be with a little man, because there will always be gossip about me in high schools and universities, and I'm not feeling that, because in high schools and universities I'm mama. Do you understand? And I'm gonna stay mama, and there's nothing that can ever change that. I'm big sis in that space, and there's no jealousy in that space. There is nothing but love in that space. There is nothing but admiration in that space, and I'm keeping it like that. I'm not about to go and take their men. Their men gotta go and make right with God. Lure these ladies to Christ, because it is absolutely a lot more possible for men to bring to the standard of Jesus than it ever can be for us to bring them to Christ, because that's just the patriarchy. It's how God did things. It's how the Lord ordered and fashioned stuff. So we ought just embrace the fact that God's order is entirely perfect. Hallelujah. Right? So Gen Z admirers, stay admirers. I am a fantasy. I shall forever be a plaque on your walls as a fantasy. Allow me to be something that you will emulate or fashion your future desired wives up unto. Given that I am following Christ, seek that the Lord's face, that he might fashion your women to grow in grace as I did, instead of trying to be with me. Because if you try to be with me, you're gonna embarrass me, and your mama gonna hate the living daylights out of me. Your boys gonna think of me as a fetish that they also might want to experiment with if things don't work out between the two of us. And your female peers are gonna tease me for being iskokwane and busy hanging out with their I don't want that. It's that basic. So women that have dated younger men, you know that what I'm talking about is true, and you are denying yourself joy in a relationship where you think you can live in an incubator. Hermit yourself against all society, because it's us against the world. Nobody want to see us together, but it don't matter, no. And no relationship will thrive when everybody around hates it. I'm not trying to do that. So Kim Kardashian, look at how she got embarrassed with that younger guy, while Kanye West went for a younger woman, and he's cool because he's a man. But with Kim, she just looked like he's got one, and she's lost her swagger. She went on right ahead and fulfilled a man's fantasy who wanted to be with Kim Kardashian. And Kim allowed herself as a fantasy to be a reality in the life of a man that ultimately she got embarrassed for being with. Don't let yourselves date younger men. I know it is a trend in 2023 that everybody thinks they can run home with and gather for themselves nice little dust particles in their ecosystem, having done that because, they've experimented, they've tried it, but it will erode away at your confidence, likely irrevocably, women. So as a 39-year-old woman, I'm not waiting on God for a husband anymore, because I believe the rapture is going to happen before I get married, and I'm going to get all that I need in the millennial reign. But should the Lord see it fit to rather give me a husband now, and not rather, God does not change his mind, but what I wanted to say was, should I have not seen right what it is that I imagine I've seen, and so therefore I'm still waiting for a husband, he is going to be a man that is either, I'm 39, he's either going to be 39, 41, 42, or 43, maybe 44, maybe even 45. You must understand, it's going to be an older guy or a guy that's exactly my age. I am still apprehensive about a younger man at all, because I know what I asked the Lord for. I asked him for a man. If anything, I wanted a man that was 2 years plus older than me, because I knew that I wanted a guy that was older than me. But right now, because I'm 39, I would take a 39-year-old. But I'm still apprehensive about a 38-year-old. I'm still apprehensive about a 36 and a 37-year-old. But I would say to women who are my age, waiting on God for a husband, and who have been waiting all this time, that it would be okay to be with a 35-year-old as a 39-year-old. It would be okay to be with a 36-year-old, a 37-year-old as a 39-year-old. But it is not okay to be with a 30-year-old as a 39-year-old. It's not okay to be with a 28-year-old as a 39-year-old for the reasons I've highlighted above. But if you want to go on right ahead and take a risk, do you? But understand that you are going to be facing a very angry mother-in-law that will go out of her way to try and get you to either break up or divorce if you've already gotten married. That is the worst for me. The in-law hatred, coupled with all the other myriad of issues that I have given you. You don't want to be embarrassed. And what's worse is that if the relationship does not work out, you don't recover from insecurity. You will always feel like it ended because of the fact that you are older, even though already you broke up because you were incompatible or whatever. Don't put yourself in a position to suffer from so much body dysmorphic disorder that you will think you look ugly and like a whole old hag, even though you still look really gorgeous, just like Kim Kardashian, but you've lost your swagger because you decided to go and date at the age of 40-something a 24-year-old guy. It can never work. You will always be insecure, and in his presence, you will also always be looking at how tight his pores are, how easy it is for him to build muscle, how agile he is, and how it takes so much more for you to lose even the smallest amount of weight in comparison to back when you were his age. You will be insecure. So kindly please cease and desist from pursuing me if you are Gen Zs. For reasons I've highlighted, I feel like I've been gentle with this message and not too hectic. So therefore, don't come at me pouncing, because really my qualms and my issues and my afflictions and my therefore very hard knock, heavy-handed resistance against men is largely against exennial and millennial men. I don't have any qualms with Gen Zs. I really don't. Because they have yet to make the mistakes that these random millennial and exennial bugaboos have made. So my anger at men is actually really truly just my anger at my peers. So Gen Zs, khuleka nanginzondi kodwa advise, take it, yo, take it, you can have it, yo, take it, you can touch it, yo. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Cran K. Peace.